My name is Dave Macintosh, and I'm the owner and operator of Macintosh Embossing, which is a company in the printing, greater printing industry.
So we're gonna.
In high school, I wanted to be a good student so that I could go and get a good college education. But I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I know I liked math and I liked English. I was kind of an all-around student without any specific thing that I loved. And I certainly didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. But I was ambitious. I did want to make a good living. Up in Massachusetts, about 45 minutes outside of Boston, I ended up going to a small college called Amherst College in western Massachusetts. And I got my undergraduate degree from Amherst. And I double majored in economics and English. Amherst had great connections to different industries, so I ended up working at a bank on Wall Street in New York for the first 3 years of my career. I was recruited at Amherst. The name of the company was U.S. Trust Company of New York, and they had a program where they taught liberal arts graduates accounting. They brought in professors from NYU for the first 9 months to teach us more about finance, and I worked for that bank for 3 years. Kind of an interesting, the standard thing in those days, and I think it still is, when you begin your career on Wall Street, was to work on Wall Street, get some experience, then go and get an MBA, which I was preparing to do. I took all the tests, the GMAT to get into business school, and I thought, just for a change of pace, because my brother lived in Minneapolis, and I did not imagine that I'd ever live in the Midwest. I thought I'd come work for my brother for 6 months. Literally fill out my applications and then go to business school. Once I saw this small business that my brother operated, I thought, wow, I could do this too. So I did kind of an about face, and I never went to business school. I ended up taking what I had learned in this Minneapolis operation and going to Boston, Massachusetts, and starting a company from scratch, doing much of what Macintosh Embossing did in Minneapolis. So that's how I got a little bit derailed in my plans by coming to Minneapolis. Interestingly enough, what I learned in college did not inform or help me a great deal what I do now. Had I remained in banking and finance, what I did and learned in college, and more importantly, the contacts I made in college, would have been very important. By kind of going off into a non-traditional field that wasn't supported by my college, I kind of left the sphere of influence and sphere of contacts that I got in college. It's a classic small business. What we do some specialized type of printing called foil stamping and embossing. So it's not a classic, what people think of as a printing industry. So it's a little niche within the printing industry. We have 13 employees. It, at one time, was larger. I'm in an industry that's growing smaller. As I age, the industry that I'm growing is getting smaller. But I've been doing it now for about 25 years. So it's entrepreneurial. I have to go out and get most of my clients, meet my clients, retain my clients. Because I'm small, I not only do some of the sales, I help with some of the production. As most small businessmen do, there's a lot of tasks, some mundane, some exciting, some boring, but it's just part of making a small business go. One of the things about being a small business owner that I talked about is the breadth of the responsibility. Some days you may start thinking you're going to do this, maybe make some sales calls, but some crisis intervenes when there's only 10 to 20 people on your staff. You kind of do whatever is the most important and the most pressing issue that day. So In my position, I'm responsible for sales and soliciting new business. I'm also making sure that our current customers are happy with the services we're providing. So that might mean that half of my day is just making sure that something that we're producing for them, which might be behind or might be have some problem, suddenly instead of selling, I'm out helping the production line make sure that it gets out to keep my customer happy. So my day can vary a great deal. It tends to be longer than the traditional day. It usually starts before 8 and doesn't finish until about 6 in the afternoon. But there isn't really a traditional thing that I do. Of course, other responsibilities that I have to do the human resources when you're a company with only 10 to 15 employees, because you don't hire someone to do that specifically. One is starting a business from scratch is a really exciting thing to do. I happened to be 27 when I did it, which I think is one of the ideal times to start a business when you're very young. You have a lot of energy. You can devote almost all of your time to doing it. You also, should you fail, it's a time of your life where it's very easy to transition into the next thing that you want to do. So from that point of view, that was a great time. For me, it almost was, instead of going to business school, I was going to start a new business and learn lessons of business that way. That was a bit naive, because when you learn how to set up a specific business, there are lessons to be learned, but it's somewhat limiting. Whereas if you go to business school, it's not only are you learning about the big world of business, but you're making contacts that will enable you to go do all sorts of various things around the world. But so I would say one of the fun things about having a small business is the startup. It's an energetic, exciting, risky time of life where you're making a change in your life. I guess some of the other things, when you make a small business go and you start hiring people, it's fun to bring people in to share the mission of something that you've created. And it's also good to some degree because you're able to control parts of your life when you own the business. You know that if there are layoffs, if there are bad times, you're going to be the one making the decisions. You're not going to be the one being laid off or let go. So those are some of the things about being a small business owner that's very positive. You know, one of the things about being a small business owner is fairly all-encompassing. It's you do it and you think about it almost constantly. So that's sometimes a difficult thing about being a small business owner. The other thing is you tend to get pigeonhole yourself, or at least I have. Probably not every small business owner, but you tend to know a lot about the small space that you inhabit in the business world. But the breadth of your knowledge isn't as great, and it tends, I think, to get smaller and smaller as you go on in your career. It's hard to keep yourself educated on other things that are happening in the greater world. Well, change is always difficult, and maybe not for everyone. It is for me. So it was difficult. We fortunately never had to lay people off, but we stopped giving raises as people were used to. People got less hours in the production facility. So it's painful to take people who are your partners, because your employees essentially are your partners, and you just can't offer them the same opportunities that they had. Now, that's the reality of the world, because certainly as in recessionary times, everyone generally has less opportunities. But you feel as if there's a bit of personal failure, even though many of the forces at work are larger than what we could control. You want to do well by your employees. And so that kind of limited opportunity, limited pay, it wears on you. And as in any recession, when your business has to contract a little bit, you just feel like you're going backwards rather than forward. And of course, our natural impulse is to try to go forward always, especially when you're running your own business. You always want to kind of have that forward momentum. You know, the great thing about small business and overall entrepreneurialism is that it can stem from anything. It can stem from kind of just a basic interest that someone has. For instance, if you love, you love balloons, you can go start a balloon shop. If you love, anything, you can create a business out of it. The other thing that you can do is if you have a job somewhere and you say, wow, this is a fun thing to do, well, there's no reason that you can't go start your own company doing that or something similar to it. Maybe not in the same city, but maybe you move to Milwaukee or Western Wisconsin and do the same thing that you've discovered someone doing well here. And of course, nowadays, there are many more entrepreneurs and small business owners who have been forced to do it because it didn't work out in corporations as people laid people off. So I think as young people, they should have that open mind and constantly be looking for those opportunities to start their own business, to kind of bootstrap. You can do this without a lot of money. Sometimes it's just hard work and foregone. You just might make less money in the short term in hopes of building up your business. But to a great degree, it's more ambition and it's more hard work than it is anything you're going to learn in high school or maybe even college.